And at carltonfc.com.au. Today's special guest missed the win against the Bullies on the weekend, but would have been thrilled by the performance, particularly of several of the youngsters. We'll get the thoughts of skipper Chris Judd in a moment. Remember, if you want to get involved in today's show, you can send in your questions via Twitter, #TheBlueprint. We're welcoming those all the time, obviously. Joining me today, as he does every Tuesday, former skipper and champion of the footy club, Mark Maclure. Lovely to see you.
Hey, Andy, how are you?
I'm going okay. Nice to have a win on the weekend.
Oh, we have got some big news first.
We'll say good day to the skipper first. Juddy, great to have you here. How are you, mate?
Very well, thanks for having me.
I don't know whether you know this yet, but injuries have been a theme at the footy club, obviously, right throughout the year, and Carlton is confirming that the season's over for Lockie Henderson. He's been booked in for groin surgery on Friday. So the problems that I think have been dogging him for a little while he's succumbed to, and that's the end of 2012 for Lockie Henderson. Yeah,
he's had a really tough year. He's been carrying that for a good chunk of the year. So, it's a shame for our footy club, but in a way, it's good for Hendo and the footy club long term to get it right now and not make it any worse. And it also gives a younger player a chance. And as we saw on the weekend, that's exciting as well.
Fantastic weekend. Absolutely sensational. Very poor first half. But then we saw a lot of kids come in. McGuinness is good. Watson's been there for a little while. We'll talk about those two. But Casbolt, Bell and Fraser Dale. Interesting story. You were standing next to him when he got the call.
Yeah, no, it was great to see those blokes get their opportunity, and not just get their opportunity, but really contribute to the win. I mean, Tom Bell in that first half almost kept us in the game, and Levi got better as the game went on, and obviously Fraser Dale did some good things too. So it was good for our club.
Casbolt's not really a ruckman, but he played in the ruck and played a role. It shows a lot of people that sometimes you just got to do what you're supposed to do to help the side win a game. And I love the way he went about it. He was exhausted at the end.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, you've got to remember, he's a guy who's only played. He had a 10-week injury in the VFL. He's only had 2 VFL games before he got that opportunity, so it was a huge effort.
It's still fabulous. A heartbeat too, isn't it? I mean, I think there's been a lot of doom and gloom around the footy club, and certainly some of the reporting that's about the football club. And I think when they were 4 and a bit goals down early in that game, I think a few people were thinking, oh, hello, here we go. This is going to be the final nail in the coffin. But there is still a heartbeat, isn't there?
Look, that's just fantastic stuff when you see that. It's just brilliant, you know. I mean, this is a young kid who sets a standard and and we talk about leadership. At 18, you can still lead.
Yeah, and that was one of the points that we made in the players' meeting on Monday, was that your first-year players that are doing what's expected of them, and the whole group needs to realise that everyone's capable of doing it.
How is the mood around the joint? Given the fact that it hasn't been the year that everybody was hoping it might have been, it looked like it was going to be earlier in the season. No,
the mood's good. The players are still very much upbeat, and feel like we can really still get something out of this season. And I think when things are going well, they're probably never going as well as what's reported, and when things are bad, they're never going as badly as what's reported, and that's where we're at now. Players are working really hard, really keen to make sure we take responsibility for where we find ourselves at this stage of the season, and we're confident we can dig our way out.
What was the coach's message before the game? Did you see two or three little important things?
Yeah, look, the main thing was that total team defence, which has been a real focus for our group for the entire year. Yep. And when we play well, we bring that, and when we don't play well, that goes missing. So, each line has a focus area on that. That was the main focus area, and then just getting the balance when we've got the ball between going quick and going slow. Those were the 2 focus areas.
Tell me about Murphy. He led really well. Love the way he did it.
Yep, and he was
better than you.
He did a very good job. So and I think it's good he's got a month to grow into the role and to stamp his sort of leadership on the group. And he had a pretty tough task up against.
Matty Boyd.
No, it wasn't Matty Boyd. He wasn't the tagger. Picken.
Yeah, Picken.
He's a really diligent tagger, and I thought he kept his head up. He worked hard for the team and was really important in the win.
You were talked about a lot last week, moving on to affairs concerning you more than the footy team at the moment. What do you take away from a week like the week that you endured personally last week?
Oh, look, it was an unpleasant week to go through personally, and obviously a bit of a distraction for our footy club. Yeah, but it doesn't change the fact I made a mistake, and when I make mistakes, there's obviously a huge amount of scrutiny on it, even compared with some other footballers. So that's the reality. I've got to make sure I don't make stupid mistakes, and especially so because the way the world is when I do. you know, there's huge consequences.
A lot of things were said about you, though. Like, the conversation was about your action, but a lot of the other part of the narrative was about you. Oh, he's a rotten bloke. He's the devil dressed up in disguise. He's no good. His character's rubbish. He's going to be dogged by this sort of stuff for the rest of his career. And when we talk about Chris Judd down the track, there's going to be an asterisk alongside his name, all that sort of stuff. How do you respond to all of that sort of thing?
Look, you can't control it. I think at the end of the day, you know, I'm the man in the arena. I'm playing the game, and there's millions of people who spend a lot of their time judging how I live my life, from how I play the game to what investment decisions I make, to what clothes I wear, to how I speak in public. And I won't say that I don't care what those millions of people and the judgments they come to, but if I got too involved in each and every one of those judgments, you know, my brain would explode. So it's important you're true to yourself. You know, I think I'm authentic in what I do and what I say, and that, you know, the relationships that you do hold dear, that they're looked after, and that's what you can do.
The leader of the match review panel, Mark Fraser, I was actually really disappointed in what he said about bringing the game into disrepute. I know you don't want to answer that, but can I answer it for you? I think it's an absolute joke that he does that. Okay, but you say what you like, but that's my thoughts.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously we can't comment on all of that, and to be honest, you know, I think everyone's ready for the whole thing to move on.
Yeah.
So the group, where does this group kind of go beyond? And there's still life in 2012. We're certainly not writing this year off, but where do you reckon it goes beyond 2013? Do you think? One question I'm interested to ask you: do you think there's enough? We're too introverted as a group. Are there enough extroverted fellas within the mix to kind of lead the way here?
Oh, look, I think we've got a really strong nucleus of players to take this club forward. But I guess our playing group is certainly an introverted group, which is not necessarily a bad thing. That's just the way it is. And still a maturing group. You know, even though the ages are getting up there, I'd say in terms of games played and just maturity levels, we're still maturing. So, look, I think it's still very much exciting times ahead for the footy club. I think we've had a rotten run with injuries. It's been well documented this year. But, yeah, look, we've still got plenty of things we want to achieve this year, but I certainly think the future still looks bright.
Let me ask you about Brock Mclean.
Yeah,
I think it's the most fantastic story I've come across for some time. Broken down, no good, didn't want him. All of a sudden, plays the last 5 or 6 weeks, been spectacular.
He has. I think in his last 8 games, he's averaged 25 disposals. So he's been great for our footy club. But as you touched on, you can't help but admire how he's gone about it, because he never once dropped his head.
No.
There's plenty of people out there in football world who'd written him off a long time ago. He had sort of issues with his body that he didn't complain about. He did the work. He stayed positive, and now he's reaping the rewards, but so's our footy club. Can
I ask you about Bryce Gibbs? Is he? I get the sense he might be a frustrated footballer. He might want to play his footy one way, and he's being asked to play it a different way at the moment. I could be completely off beam there. How's he tracking in his development as a player, do you think?
Oh, look, he'd be disappointed with the year he's had individually, but he's not looking to make any excuses for that. And, you know, he had a disappointing start to the game last weekend, but, you know, kicked 2 goals in the last quarter, and his last 3 quarters were really good for us. So he's copped a bit. I don't think he's frustrated at where he's playing. There's a lot being made of that, but he just wants to play wherever he's needed for the team to succeed, and he's articulated that. He's very clear on that. And, you know, I'm confident that he'll finish the year off really strongly for us.
I thought he was a little bit put off last week on Griffin. He had to play Griffin down back, and he ran with him. I mean, that's his job. Sometimes you just got to suck it up and do what you have to do for the team. And I'm glad that he played well in the second half. He got better and better as the game got on.
Yeah, look, he as I said, he wasn't happy with his first quarter, but I don't think that was a result of him being unhappy with the role he was asked to do. It was just the fact he was playing on a really good player who he got some early touches on him.
A lot of Carlton supporters are going to be excited about the prospect of watching you get peppered by other Carlton supporters in the Google Plus hangout after the show today. Do you know what you're doing here, Juddy? You're jumping into the hornet's nest here where people have got open slather at you for about 20 minutes.
I'm an expert at social media, Andrew.
I've got another one for him. I've got one for him before he goes.
Well, hang on. No, you're not going yet. Time for some viewer questions. You can just sit on that one. I know the question you want to ask him, and I'm not sure he's ready for that. Time for some viewer questions from our social media fans. Matt asks on Facebook, what do you do to unwind after a hard game, Chris?
I go home, I eat my food that the club gives you, which is fairly nutritious. And I get into some trackies, and I go down to the local Souvlaki shop and get a takeaway pizza.
Should.
Go home, scoff that, and then it's a really long night. You know, particularly a night game, I'll just sit around, watch a bit of telly.
Sleeping tablets? Have you? I mean, this has been a talking point of 2012.
I don't take them, and you know what? If I did, I wouldn't come out and say it because it'd be you'd spend the whole week explaining yourself. But
have you felt a need for them though? I mean,
oh yeah, absolutely.
You get so wound up after a game of footy; it's coursing through the veins for hours.
I've just always been a bit apprehensive on taking them, which you
What's
shouldn't
wrong
be.
With the old method? Scotch and Coke or a couple of beers.
Yeah, there's a few problems with that, but yeah, look, as you said, it's a long night. I mean, I'd average an hour or two sleep after a night game. So it's a pretty long, boring night, but that takeaway pizza is certainly the highlight.
That works. Rexy wants to know, he's asked you on Twitter, does Chris intend to play on after 2013? Your contract expires at the end of next year, and I think a lot of Carlton supporters would like to know what your plans are, if you've got any, you know.
Yeah, look, I hope so. It's, you know, at my age, it's still a long way away. So we'll get through this year, we'll get through next year, and see where we're at.
At Carlton, Juddy? I mean, is that where you want to keep? If you're going to play on after 2013, it'll definitely be at Carlton?
I definitely won't be playing anywhere else.
Yeah. Good.
Well, I got one.
I know you've got this question you'll ask him. Go on.
What's happened? The Wags thing came out, and Bex is not in the top 5. What's going on?
Well, this year, it's...
Is she disappointed?
Of course she's disappointed. You know, she...
It's a time to train her in, maybe, you know?
Well, no, I wouldn't dare, but she's just got to bounce back. I've sat her down.
Exactly, yeah.
I said...
Got a program for her?
She's let down herself, but she's let down our family.
Absolutely.
And we needed a lift. So I've told her that, and, you know, I think she'll respond, Sellers.
I hope so.
It's good that you have laid down the law. Look, thanks for coming on. There's a million other things we'd like to talk to you about, and hopefully we'll get another crack at it at some stage down the track.
Thanks, guys.
Chris Judd, our very special guest on The Blueprint today. Stick around. You can see him on the Google Plus Hangout after the show. Remember, you can tweet or email us comments and questions. Our Twitter address is #TheBlueprint, or email the club with The Blueprint in the subject line at blues@carltonfc.com.au. Chris Judd, our special guest. Again, Sellers, thanks for coming on. Good to see you. We'll see you next Tuesday here from 1 p.m, carltonfc.com.au. Thanks for joining us. See you later.